Okay, option B for taking seating charts could be related to having a room that's not traditionally rows of desks. Maybe you have workbenches or lab tables or work tables in a room. Maybe you have square tables of 4 students that they would be in your room traditionally to be set up. Long story in short is that traditional rows don't quite work for the seating chart for you. So again, to get started, make a very careful note of what your class periods are and what the course code and section number is. If you do have more than one thing going on in a class period, make sure you make a note of that as well, because that's going to be really important. When I go on over to seating charts, what I can choose to do now is I can choose to make a new seating chart. And I'm going to use my E025.7 as my example. But again, please keep in mind, if you have a TA, office assistant, peer tutor, you have multiple people in the same course, go way on down to the bottom and find that combination, because that's where you need to make your seating chart. So I'm going to call this one Period 1 Tables. And I'm going to think about my room hypothetically. What I'm showing you right now is a picture of just black X's. So maybe what I have is 4-person tables, and I have them spaced around my room. I would want to think about how I can build that out. I want, of course, the seats at a table to be touching each other because it's one table. But I also want to think about how I can have row space. So now, if you look at this picture, you'll see these magenta colored X's. This is really dead space. These are the aisles where students and teachers can get around the room and get to the tables and get to the desks. What I want you to think about now is using the live space, which would be the black X's, and the dead space, which would be like the magenta X's, and think about those in terms of seats. So if my room is 3 tables wide, I have a total of 6 seats, and as you see here, I have 2 aisleways. So basically, I have an 8-seat wide room, and it's 8 seats deep. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to create an 8-column by 8-row table, or room rather. I'm not going to put any spaces between anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to place any students either. What I'll do now is I'll create my chart. And what I can do is, again, I can contract my workspace. And what that's going to do is going to bring in the classroom wall, so that way it'll print better. And now I want to think in terms of negative space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see all the room a lot easier. And I'm going to have my tables where my black X's are, and I'm going to delete out the rows where my magentas were, because that's the dead space. And I'll do the same thing over here. And then finally, I'm going to take out the rows in between the desks. And finally, down here, and now I'm all set. I have my 9 tables actually, so I have 3 by 3. I have spaces in between, and everything's good to go. What I can do now is I can save this. And now I want to maybe think about how I would place my students. Again, things are color-coded, right? So this gray is kind of the distance learning. I have a group D, I have a group A, B, and C. What I can consider doing then is maybe putting an A, a B, a C, and a D at every table to stagger it out. And then at any given day when I'm taking attendance, the kids that should be there today will be the ones that appear in the seats. I would probably also make a dedicated section for my distance learning, because maybe they're checking in virtually via Zoom or something like that. But the point now is I can make a seating chart that actually looks like my room. I can be prudent with the color coding of the little symbols if I am still doing the hybrid and distance learning about how to place things out, and everything can be in one spot. I could also go back to the different kinds of, I'll go ahead and save this so you can see it. I can also go to report options, and I could choose to put pictures of the students in here as well, so that way I have pictures and faces to the names as I go through and take my roll. When it's going to come time to actually take attendance, and I'm just going to place students here randomly, I can now go to attendance. Oops, I'll get save first. and I can choose whatever format it is. So maybe I'm in period 1 and I want to use the tables. Well, now I can see all those students. And so in this case, I can see the students that should be here today with a P, A, or T. The students who wouldn't be here today, of course, would not be listed. And I can also see my virtual students too. So that's nice. And then all I can do is just go ahead and take attendance, mark them absent or tardy, put in a comment as appropriate, and be able to save it. And that's how I would take roll. So that's how you do your seating charts. This is how you make a seating chart to actually look like your room if you have tables or benches or whatever layout you may have. Please do keep in mind, I cannot emphasize enough, if you do have a TA or something like that, just make sure you're choosing the right course that combines everyone together. Thank you.